we're here in Israel to stay. Many Jews say today, that there's a strong possibility that we might, God forbid, be exiled from Israel again, because they look at all the sins that are going on in the state, all of the warts and the shortcomings. They say, God surely can't be happy with us. And we're doing, unfortunately, many of the same things that our forefathers did in a bad sense. So therefore, we should get the same punishment. But we have a guarantee. The exile from the Romans was the last exile from Israel. Once Hashem brought us back in large numbers from that Gullus, we're here to stay. Okay, this return cannot fail and will not fail. It can be painful. The process can be extended, but we're here to stay. The Jews are not going to be exiled again, no matter what. Again, it's certainly advisable not to do the sins of our forefathers. We want the whole process to be more pleasant. We want to be on good terms with Hashem, but nevertheless, this return cannot and will not fail. Okay, but anyway, they will be exiled again by the Romans. The land will be desolate, and after that, Hashem will again choose Jerusalem, La'asid Lavo, in the future times, that the children will return to it, as we have experienced in our times. The children have returned to Israel. We don't have true Zionism yet in our day, because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, and we don't have a strong enough push to build the Beis HaMikdash. And frankly, we're not ready for a Beis HaMikdash, because if we don't even take our shuls seriously, if you look at the conduct of people in shuls today, the quality of the davening, the quality of the atmosphere in the shul, the seriousness with which a shul is treated, a shul is considered to be a mikdash me'at, a small Beis HaMikdash, a miniature Beis HaMikdash. So if we're not treating that properly, we're not yet really worthy of having the big Beis HaMikdash, the real Beis HaMikdash. So we're not yet where we need to be. The push shouldn't be really to build the Beis HaMikdash. The push should be to build ourselves, to get ourselves ready to build the Beis HaMikdash, to be worthy of that, to be working on our shuls, to be working on our Torah life, to be working on building up a proper Torah state, and then it'll be a natural fit to have a spiritual center in that Torah state, the Beis HaMikdash. But we should be going as far as we can, getting things ready, having the plans to build the Beis HaMikdash, getting things ready to build it, even though we're not yet really ready to have it. But we should be seeing that as the goal of true Zionism, not just coming to Israel and building beautiful cities and beautiful companies and culture and Jewish theme parks and things like that. That's not Zionism. Zionism is building a Beis HaMikdash. And I lifted up my eyes, says Zechariah. I saw I saw a man, and he was holding a rope that was used to measure things, a building instrument, an architect, right? He was measuring things. And I said, where are you going? And the man said to me, Lamod es Yerushalayim, to measure Jerusalem, liros kama rachba v'kama arka, to see how long and wide the city will be, which is similar to the vision we had in chapter 1. But now it takes a turn. And now this malach that was speaking within me was going out. I don't know what that means exactly. And a different angel was now coming to meet him. We had a meeting of angels here. And he said to him, run. Speak now to this lad, saying, to this lad that had the rope for measuring, Yerushalayim. Jerusalem will be spread out with inhabitants. It'll be settled in a spread out kind of way. From the large number of people and animals in it. So you don't need the rope. Don't bother measuring the city, because it's going to expand and expand and keep on expanding. And I will be for it, says Hashem, a wall of fire around it. You don't need a physical wall. You will have a wall of fire around the city protecting it. We don't need iron domes. We don't need electric fences to keep out the enemies, where we're living in fear. Everything Israel does is a defensive posture against our enemies. One of my Rebbeim, Rabbi Moshe Tendler, Alav Shalom. So I was in a shiur one time, and he said, he had a comment that really stuck with me. He said that Israel's response when they throw rocks at buses is to build buses with stronger windows, so the rocks can't shatter the windows. He says that's the wrong response. If somebody throws the proper response is to roll down the window and shoot the person throwing the rock. The proper response when people are firing missiles at Israel, this is not what Rabbi Tendler said, but this is the logical extension of it. When people are firing missiles, is not to have an iron dome to say, you can fire all the missiles you want. We'll just shoot them down, or make sure they fall in empty fields. We're not scared of your missiles. And yet you spend millions and millions of dollars that poor people can use to feed themselves and their families, right? We're wasting all that money on defensive missiles. They cost $50,000 each, I think. to blow down cheap junk that they're firing from Gaza. And we're so proud of ourselves at the marvel that they can fire rockets and life goes on as normal. No, the proper response is you take them out once and for all. You don't mow the grass. You take care of them once and for all. That's a proper response. To fight an offensive war, not a defensive war. That's a proper response. So Hashem says, I will be a wall of fire around you. You won't even need to fight a defensive war in the future times. I will be a wall of fire around you, and I will be for glory within the city. Okay, so the question is this pasuk talking about now in the Vayesheni period or future times? Okay, it seems on the surface that it was talking about now, right? The present times of Vayesheni, but it seems to have been kicked down the road because it didn't really come true fully during that time. Vayesheni was a very bloody period with lots of wars from inside the country, civil wars, and outside the country. Very, very bloody time period. There were very few periods of peace during that time when we could really say Hashem was like a wall of fire surrounding us. Okay, pasuk Yud, and this is a good thing to close with. We'll do the next couple of psukim here. Hoi, hoi, ho, whoa, Hashem is calling. Venusu me eretz tzafon Hashem, run away from the lands of the north, says Hashem. Ki ka'arba rukos hashamayim peirasti eschem Hashem, because like the four corners of the heavens, I scattered you, I spread you out, says Hashem. Hoi, Tzion imolti, whoa, come to Tzion, escape to Tzion. Yosheves bas Bavel, those who dwell in Bavel. Okay, now who are these psukim talking about? Telling us to run away from the Galus and come back to Israel. So let's start with Radak on pasuk Yud, verse 10. Here we go. Venusume eres tzafon, flee from the land of the north. Amar keneged hanish arim beBavel. He said regarding those who remained in Bavel, Shelo alu barishona, that didn't make aliyah at first with the first wave of aliyah. There was a later wave that came with Ezra. Sheyim haru lotze, said they should hurry and leave. Stop dragging your feet. Come back to Israel. V'lashav Yerushalayim, and to return to Jerusalem. V'livnos habayis, and to build the house. Ki higia azmano, because the time has arrived. Zehu v'nusu, that's what it means to flee. Right? If you're running away from danger, so you're running as fast as you possibly can. You should be running with that same eagerness to come back to Israel. Okay, the same speed with which Jews are able to run away from people who are persecuting them, they should be running towards Israel as well. Not just running away from the dangers, but running towards Israel in a positive sense. He's saying, get out of the Galus. What are you still doing there? Okay, so according to Radak, he's talking about the people in Bavel. And he says in the next word, in the next line, Kika Arba Rukos HaShamayim, like the four sides of the heavens. Ratzalomer means to say, this that I said that they should leave the Galus. I'm only saying those who went to Bavel. Remember, we had all the 10 tribes were scattered to more distant lands. So Radak says, and Navi was saying, I'm not talking about those Jews. Those Jews are going to stay in exile. They're too far away. But the Jews in Bavel should come back. Okay, Kamosha Amar, as it says in the next pasuk, Yud Aleph, Yosheves Bas Bavel. Those who dwell in the daughter of Bavel, and then the lands and the cities of Bavel. Because the others are too far away. They've been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And he goes on and says that the time has not yet come for them to come back to Israel. But at least those who are in Bavel should come back. So that's Radak. Mitzudas David, however, says differently. He says it's talking about all Jews, even those who are far away. He says on pasuk Yud Aleph, Ho Yitzion Himalti, ho, escape to Tzion. Ki'ilu Yikra Yehuda, as if he's calling to Yehuda, V'yomar, and he says, Ata Adas Yehuda, Shegalisa Mitchila LeBavel Lashevetz Beineim, Himalti Mimakom She'atem Ata Lavo LeTzion. That you who were the first to be exiled to Bavel to dwell among them, now should escape and flee from that place and come back to Zion. And in the previous comment, even though but the previous comment he says about the four corners of the earth, he says, Kamosha Dalad Rukos Hashamayim Hema Rechokim Zumizu, just as the four sides of the heaven are distant from one another. Kain Peirasti Eschem La'eretz Merchak, so I have scattered you to distant lands. Now hear these key words, says Metzudas David. V'lochein, therefore, Maharu Ulechu, hurry and come back and go Lefi Rova Merchak, because you're far away. So contrary to what Radak says, the Radak says the Navi was only telling the Jews of Bavel to make Aliyah and come back. Metzudas David says no. He's saying everybody come back. The second pasuk talking about Bas Bavel is explicitly talking about the Jews in Bavel. That's pasuk Yud Aleph. But pasuk Yud that says of the four corners of the heavens, that's talking about the distant Jews. He speaks to them and says, hurry up and come back because you've got a longer way to go, so start moving. You people need a head start because you're farther away. So here, this was actually an explicit call for all of the Jews in exile to come back to Israel. And this was a critical component for Bayis Sheni to not only be built, but to stay built. And unfortunately, as we will see, of course, we know it from our history, but we'll see the Navi talks about it explicitly. They did not heed this call. Now, again, remember how this parak started. It started by saying we're not going to have prophets anymore after this, but the messages are eternal. The messages from the Torah and the prophets are eternal, and we need to learn from the mistakes of our forefathers. Our forefathers got the call. When Hashem started to bring the Jews back to Israel, that was a clear sign. He wants all of you to come back to Israel. Unfortunately, they didn't get the message, and therefore, by Sheni, even though it lasted a long time, it ultimately failed, and it was doomed from the very outset. We have the same opportunity today. Hashem has brought Jews back to Israel by the millions. We already know that this cannot and will not fail. So this is as clear a sign as any. We don't need a Navi. We have a little bit of Seichel, and we have this to teach us that Hashem wants us all to come back now and build the third Beis HaMikdash. Now, again, the time might not be right to build the third Beis HaMikdash literally, but we're getting that process really started, not just by coming and settling the land. And I don't mean to minimize that because that's very important. Every Jew who comes here, if he does nothing else but come here and settle the land, he's building the country. He's strengthening the settlement of the Jews in Israel. But it's not enough. We have to be pushing forward, moving forward at all times, creating a true Torah state and laying the groundwork for the third Beis HaMikdash to be built. This is what Hashem clearly wants of us. He wants us to run away from the Galus, not because we're being persecuted. Even if we're not being persecuted, we should run away to Israel because the time is here, the time has arrived, and this is where we are meant to be.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.